Hello, I'm Kenneth D. King for Threads Magazine, and today we are drafting collars. The collars that we're drafting are inspired by a jacket I found in a vintage store some time back. This is what inspired this jacket, and the collars we're drafting are called all-in-one collars, or cut-as-one collars. There are all-in-one standing collars, of which this is our example. Then there are all-in-one roll collars. The classic example of that is a shawl lapel. The reason they call it an all-in-one collar, you can see here, here's the front of the garment, there's the shoulder seam, and the neck seam makes an angle, but the collar is cut as one with the front, so you have a center back seam. Classic detail in one of these collars. Before we start drafting, there are some things we need to know. On the back, we have back neck width. So if you brought a ruler, a square, up and squared off a line from the back shoulder point, the distance between that point and the center back would be the back neck width. Next to this is the back neck measure, and the back neck measure is the measurement of the seam line on the back neck. These are the two measurements we need to get. Once we have these, we can continue. And as you can see, we're drafting on just any basic bodice because this collar will work on any bodice you choose. So what I've done here, I have the back neck width, the back neck measure, and on the front, I've added an overlap, and the standard overlap that I use is the button diameter plus 1/8 of an inch. I find that is the optimum overlap. So here we have the bodice prepared. Then our next step, coming from the center front, we extend the center front up to where we draw a 90-degree angle to the shoulder point, and we extend this line out from point A to point B. This measure is the back neck width minus 1/4 inch. This is a formula. From B, we draft a line perpendicular up to C, and from B to C is 2¼ inches. This is also formula. When we connect A with C, the green line here, that is the neck seam. That would be the back neck measurement. But this shows us the angle at which the neck seam sits in relation to the center front. From here, at point D, from A to D is the back neck measure. From D up, this is the height of the stand, and as you can see, I've marked that the center back because that's going to be the center back seam. The stand can be as narrow as 1 inch. It can go as high as 2¼ inches. I wouldn't go any higher than that. And then I draw a line parallel to line AD for the back portion of the collar. And from here, you just draw the line of the collar as you so choose. This is how you draft an all-in-one standing collar or a funnel collar on a bodice. Next, I'm going to show you how to convert a shawl collar to a standing all-in-one collar. Hi, I'm back. Now, I have two different drafts on the table. The first one is the standing all-in-one collar that we just drafted. Next to it is a shawl lapel. Now, when you look at the two of them, just with a casual glance, they look exactly the same. What you're looking at, though, is the angle that the collar sits in relation to the center front. On the shawl lapel, you can see this is a steeper angle. It's more vertical. On the standing, it's a little more horizontal. Having the angle higher makes the collar want to roll over on itself. So let's just say you have a shawl lapel jacket that you want to convert to a standing all-in-one collar. It's really very, very easy. Here is our shawl lapel jacket. And so what you want to do is extend your center front line up to where the collar intersects the shoulder and draft a line away from the center that is perpendicular to your center line. Once you've drafted that line, Remember the same formula. From here to here is the back neck width minus 1/4 inch. From here up is 2 1/4 inches. And that's going to give you this line here, which you can then adjust your collar to fit. Cut to here, and then you just shift that down like so. See how easy? Such an easy thing. So I have that drafted over here. So this is what it would look like. The paper spreads in this area here. And then finally, you just draw your new style line, which is in green. And voila, you have a standing all-in-one collar. Now, facings. These garments here are drafted without facings because both sides of the fabric are beautiful and there are edge finishes that finish it, but there are times you're going to want facings. So I'm going to come back next and show you facings. Drafting a facing is very, very easy. You start with the main body piece, and you can see here I've drawn a line that is 1.5 inches. It can be 2 inches away from this intersection at the neck, and generally between 3 and 5 inches away from the outer edge. You draft this seam here. If you were going to be making a lining, this portion of the pattern would be the lining. This portion of the pattern you trace out for your facing. Now, after you've traced it, it's not just a one-to-one relationship. You have to do a little finessing here. It's called favoring. This is our piece drafted from the main body. So what I like to do is trim off 1/8 inch at the center back, trim off 1/8 inch all the way along this edge and across the bottom. And the reason for that is when you're sewing a facing, you want the seam to fall slightly in. You want the edge of this to read like a folded edge, not a seam. So trimming off that 1/8 inch will automatically pull the fabric back so that the seam presses in the direction you wish it to press. Then finally, this is a weird little thing that I just discovered years ago that works. A lot of times at this point on your facing, you get a little wrinkle. It pulls up too much. So what I discovered is after I draw the favoring line, and think of this as 2 separate steps, don't try to do it all at the same time. You subtract the 1/8 inch, and then right here, you drop down by 1/4 inch, and then you blend up to here. That 1/4 inch, I don't quite know how to explain it. It gives you just a little extra ease so that you don't get a pull right there if you're sewing the seam all the way around. I don't see it in any of the books, but I just know that it works. The green lines to here and the red line, this is your facing. And you have standing all-in-one collar perfection from Kenneth D. King and Threads Magazine.